Emergencies happen every day of the year and every hour of the day. To the men and women who work as first responders, each of these incidents can be a chance to show their true character. In the world of 911 and dispatch, this is no different. Any call could be the call that makes or breaks your career. This is why it's always important to keep yourself bulletproof while on the job. This is Lifeline. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I'm your co-host, Gary, and today we are discussing being bulletproof. Now, Erica, when I say this, obviously I'm talking about being kind of like the Man of Steel and you can just stand there and have somebody shoot at you and it just kind of ricochets off, right?
Sure, Gary. That's exactly what we mean. No, not
Okay.
really. No, we're talking about I like to say we have a colleague at our center, and one of her favorite sayings, and it's always stuck with me. She says she always strives to have her work be, and this is exactly how she does it. She says bulletproof. That's what she
Yep.
means. And by that, she means her work is the same. It is steady. It is bulletproof in that nothing gets past her, or at least that's what she strives for. And she, in my opinion, is probably one of the most consistent dispatchers that I have ever worked with and or supervised, because her work is just that consistent.
Right. And I think it's important to kind of draw the distinction of, we're not saying you're flawless or you don't make any mistakes, because we're all human and we all do make mistakes and
Sure.
have errors. But
Yeah.
that they strive to always make sure that they're following correct policies, procedures, protocols, any other P word, you could put out there, platypus, and that they're trying to make sure that their work is textbook every time.
Yes. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Thank you.
The type of person that like does a crossword puzzle with a pen, that's what we're talking about here.
Nice. And I know that's, it sounds like a tall order, but it really isn't. There really isn't any superpower when it comes to that. And that's evidenced in the fact that this person, she does the same thing every time on every call for the most part. And when I say most part, only to allow for, like what you said, that there's always a human element, right?
Sure.
There might be a day where she misses this or misses that, but the odds of it being the big thing, I would eat a hat with hot sauce on it if that happened, because it just is not the norm. And for, let's say, an example of backups, there is no such animal as this dispatcher not getting a backup for someone. No. And if you try to convince me that happened, I would first ask you, are we talking about the same person?
Right.
And if you said, yes, I'm talking about that person, then I would say, did you have a nervous breakdown? Split personality?
Did her computer explode?
Something happened. Was she blindfolded? She couldn't see it? I'm coming up with all the reasons why this is it's just unthinkable, because a work product is not perfect, but it is consistently on target.
Right. And meaning that it doesn't deviate from, what. So you have standard operating procedures, and as we've talked about many times, those are just that for your standard operations. But there are things that are always carried through, no matter what's going on. You could have a simple traffic stop to a plane crashing into a building. You're always going to follow generally, some same principles, like make sure people's locations are correct, holding the air when, need be. There's a litany of things that you do in every call, no matter what the call is. And by consistently doing those things over time, you may not necessarily win any friends, but you do build up a reputation of being professional, of being accurate, and really, for someone who's a dispatcher, for making sure all your guys go home at the end of the night.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, when we're talking about this, and whether you're a call taker or a dispatcher, or you're someone who does both, you might be in an agency that's the size where you are like the many hats. It's either fire or EMS or police or all at some point over the course of your shift. What we're really talking about is making sure that whatever your assignment is that day, whatever discipline it is that day or every day, strive to make sure that your work product is bulletproof, that it is textbook, that it is checks all the boxes. And Gary and I were talking about this, and my dispatchers out there, you gonna know what I'm talking about when I say this. Most of us as baby dispatchers, especially in the early parts of our career, we we want to be seen as the best of the best dispatcher ever, right? That's the
Ever.
goal, right? And that's what we want. But the problem with that is it's not the same as being respected as having a solid work product. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a huge difference in being able to always consistently deliver on game day, and
Hmm.
being sort of the fun, fuzzy loving kind of like cheerleader, like that everybody likes to be around. Like
Yeah,
you may not uh, you may not like the asshole that's like, we got to get this done, and like really hammers home what needs to happen, but you respect that person, and if I got to get a job done, that's the person
that's
I
the one
want
I'm
behind
calling.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
And
to
we
put too
have,
fine a point on it.
well, but you're 1,000% right, because as supervisors, everybody knows by now that if you listen to the show, we are supervisors in the same center, and we have two disciplines. We have the call takers and we have the dispatchers. And one of the things that as supervisors, or at least for me for sure, I battle all the time is training up my baby dispatchers to be solid dispatchers and not uh, striving for the popularity contest.
Yeah.
Meaning, I want them to like me. I want the officers to think that I am just so good at my job. Well, how about you just be good at the job? And the like might follow, but I can promise you, where like doesn't exist, respect will. Because they will always respect a dispatcher that does things by the book, that runs the radio with confidence, that knows their SOPs, knows how to apply their critical thinking when it matters most, rather than being so well liked. Example: good morning. How is your shift today? Hi. Although that's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute, but it means absolutely nothing if you don't remember where they are when all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Or like dropping by, show up and dropping off some cookies or brownies or whatnot. Um, like that's that's that builds camaraderie, and that has benefits, of course. But like, what
Does it,
really
Gary?
matters, I'm trying to be more in touch with my feelings here. Trying to be positive.
Those of you can who I wish you YouTube viewers, you're gonna love my face right now because it's just like, But if you're listening on, any of our podcast thing and you can't see me, just listen to the tone of my voice.
Yeah, you can hear it in the voice.
Mm.
But like, what really matters is you know getting everybody home at the end of the night,
Yeah.
and the best way to do that is, whether you're like taking the 911 calls, dispatching on them, or any of the things that you do in an emergency communication center, is to make
Mhm.
sure you're adhering to established policies, procedures, and following them each time, to make sure that there's consistency in your work.
Yeah. So that when there is a question, your leadership and or the officers that you work with every day, if there is a question or something goes wrong, they have You have built up such a reputation for excellence in your work that the benefit of the doubt is automatically given, right? They go, something must have gone wrong. I don't know what happened, but something happened because that's not normal for them.
Hmm.
That's not to say that it's okay if something goes wrong, but let me make sense of this. So before the show, Gary and I were talking about a situation where I, as a dispatcher, I'd gone to lunch and I come back and one of the officers, he's in a situation and I'm talking about, one at gunpoint situation. And whoever the person was prior to had lost track of him. They didn't know where he was. And I'm sitting down and putting on the headset in just enough time to realize, oh, this is really bad. Officer such and such, where are you exactly? And why do you have someone at gunpoint? And why don't I know that? And why can't I see that on the screen? And all this stuff is happening. And I have no time to figure out the whys. I just jump in and I go, this is years of experience at play here, too. So let me put that out there. When you're really, really new, this is much harder to do. But what I'm really trying to say is I get in there within a few seconds. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's wrong and I don't know how we got here, but let's fix it. Let's get him on track. Let's get where he is. Let's get his back up. Let's do what we do. When it's all said and done, the sergeant is ready for my head. He is coming to the center to put my head on a platter because he thinks I'm the dispatcher that dropped the ball. Now, the sergeant is new to the shift. He does not know me. He doesn't know my work product, but the officer does. And so he says to the officer, I'm on my way to the center and I'm going to kill the dispatcher for dropping the ball. I'm going to kill her. She's going to die today. And he's like, no, Sarge, I don't know what happened, but that was not Erica. I can tell you why it wasn't her. Not, yeah, you heard her voice, but I don't know what happened before because that's not what she does. There is no such thing as her not knowing where we are. There's no such animal as her not being on top of a situation like that. And that's not bragging. That officer saved my life that night because I'm telling you, the sergeant was coming to kill me, professionally speaking.
Of course.
Why was that officer able to say with such confidence that I don't know what went wrong, but whatever it was, it had nothing to do with her? Because the work product up to that point had been consistent and in essence bulletproof, to the point
Right.
where he was willing to spend his capital and say, I bet the bullets in this gun that it was not her. That's what we mean. And
Hmm.
that meant so much to me that he was not that he was willing to say it, but that it was true. And he was willing to say it because it was true. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of the difference between uh, like those fluffy, goody goody gumdrop feelings, being the niceties, like hi, how you doing,
Hi,
and
good
like
morning.
yeah, when other people's good mornings be like 10-4, going 41, go ahead and give me your 20 and everything. It's not
Mhm,
as fun and warm, but like uh, when the fecal matter hits the whirly blades,
mhm.
uh, the fuzzy feeling people are going to get just thrown under the bus. Whereas,
Yes.
like for example, you, since the officer knew you and was like, there is no way unless Erica had like a mental breakdown, uh,
Mhm.
not outside the realm of possibility, but unless
And
she had
it's
a
entirely possible, which could
right.
have been about the only excuse they might have accepted, is if in
Hmm.
that moment she could had a complete mental break. They probably would have been like, I hate that it had to happen in that moment, but I guess you'll get a pass because it is a mental break. And okay, fine. This is the
Yep.
age of mental illness and mental wellness. So we're gonna let you pass today. Don't ever have that mental break again.
Yep. We're gonna take Erica to a padded room. She's gonna like enjoy a couple of days off. She comes back, she'll be fine. But barring that, they're like, there's no way, based on my history of knowing her, previous work, that
Hmm.
I could be out here holding a gun on somebody and she not know who I am, where I am, or have some idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
So that capital, as you said, you've built that up by making little tiny deposits every night on 100
Hmm.
different calls,
Yeah.
and when you needed to, uh, when that needed to, be cashed, it was
Hmm.
there in the bank because people were
Yeah.
like, yeah. she's got good credit. I know she can do it. She's at
Absolutely.
yeah, she's at 832 credit. She can take this loan out.
She can have anything she wants, or, she can get a pass. Whereas, had I been the dispatcher that is soft and pink all the time and cooking things and frying things and dropping things off and baking things, and I know your birthday, and I know the names of all of your kids, and I know your spouse's name and birthday, and I know what happened in your anniversary, and all, I know all this stuff about you. But when all hell breaks loose, I'm the one who's banking on all of that to keep you from complaining when I have not done my job.
Hmm.
And we have a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like to take it out. If you're not in the emergency communications world, we could like throw another example out there. So, if you have a choice between two dentists, you have a toothache and you got to go to a dentist. Do you want the dentist that gets reviews? It's like, this dentist is really nice. She's always smiling. She's always, very polite to me. And like,
Hmm.
I feel very, cared about. Or do you want the dentist like, this guy's a big booty head, but like, they know their stuff and they fix my tooth immediately.
Hmm.
You're probably going to want the person that can like extract the tooth rather than, you know, talk nicely to you while you sit there in agony.
Yeah,
Um,
you give me competence
or give
over
me death.
soft,
Oh,
or yeah, give me competence over soft and pink
mm,
and the
yeah.
warm and fuzzies. And, in a perfect world, you're able to do that. And in the course of my career, I've made what I know are lifelong friends on the other side of the radio. But every one of them, even the ones that knew me when I first started, and I was awful, right? Because let's be honest,
You weren't
we're
perfect when you
all,
started?
no, no. I look, the struggle bus had my name on the license plate. Okay. That, yes. There was a picture of me hanging from the rearview mirror of the struggle bus. There was a bobblehead of me on the dashboard of the struggle bus. Shall I go on?
No, no,
I
we're good.
wasn't,
I get
I
the
had
picture.
to, I had to work through, and I looked around and I emulated the dispatchers that were not the most popular on their radios, but were the most well respected on their radios. And not because they were so well liked were they respected. They were well respected because their work was bulletproof.
Hmm. Yeah. And, when when you first start off, um, by keeping that bulletproof ethic of, I'm going to try every call to do it 100% correct, no matter what happens,
Hmm.
that helps build and then reinforce those skills that you need in order to continue being bulletproof. Because
Yeah.
if you're staying on the path becomes well trod after a while and
Hmm.
easier to follow. It's like building any habit. What is it they say? Like
Very true.
17 days builds a habit. Um,
I've heard 21, but something like that. It's more than,
21.
yeah, it might, maybe by
Yeah.
17, who knows? But the over and over and over doing it this way and conditioning yourself. One of the things that most baby dispatchers in our center, for sure, and I'm sure it's this way no matter where you are, they are loath to close the channel or hold the air in the beginning because they don't want to be
Hmm.
wrong about doing it, right? And you will have to say to them, what you don't want is to be in a position where you have to answer for why you didn't do it. And your answer is, well, I didn't know if I should. And I didn't want to sound stupid. I didn't want them to think didn't know what I was doing. Well, you just got here. You've been here 15 minutes. Of course, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
How is it possible for you to know what you're doing? But when I tell you this is the habit you need to develop,
Hmm.
not only will that habit develop the confidence of knowing when to and when not to, if you're willing to close the channel at any hint that it might be time to, you will get a better feel of when it is time to and when it is not, so that it will become the skill of it. So I have a saying at one of my other of the three jobs that I have: repetition builds skill, Skill builds confidence, confidence builds resilience, and basically it's the doing it over and over again that will build the skill, so that when you will know when to do it and when not to do it, up to and including whatever it is, whether it's insisting on a backup, not allowing two or three officers to go to the same call, or any rule or regulation or SOP. If you're consistently doing what you're supposed to, it becomes the habit. Now you don't have to think about it,
Hmm.
and you don't have to convince yourself to do it. So you will look up and you will have done all the steps you're supposed to do, and they will be automatic. They will be like air. So you don't ever have to worry about not doing it.
Right. I think it was Aristotle that said excellence is an art won by training and habituation. We do not act virtuous because we, are virtuous. It's a habit.
Hmm.
It's something that you do again and again. So in the last episode, we were talking to Nastasia about a call that she took that was an exceptional call. Like, it was a
Hmm.
4.5 hour call, and by her having made those decisions 1,000 times before in 1,000 different calls, she had built confidence in herself in order to be able to take that call, even though that was a call she had never taken before and had really never even been trained on.
Hmm.
Um, but like even like she said, like, I didn't know what to do here necessarily, but she knew the conclusion she was trying to get to. It was
Yeah.
because of building those skills and being, constantly learning and improving yourself, making yourself bulletproof inch by
Yeah.
inch, plate by
Yes.
plate.
I love that, inch by inch, because that's how it is. It is not, you don't, in this profession, and I know we're talking a lot about dispatchers. I'm glad you brought up the call taking, because it's the same. And uh, it doesn't have to be an extraordinary call like that one. It could be, you could be the operator that we have one in our center now, where if you said to me that Miss G lost her entire mind, she didn't get the address right, she didn't verify the phone number, the title code was wrong, and half of the text was missing.
Hmm.
My immediate thought is Miss G had a nervous breakdown just before she walked in the door. And
Seems to be going around.
yeah, yeah. And we need to get her into the padded room as soon as possible, because that's the only way that is true. Or we're not talking about the same person, because her
Hmm.
work product through 17, 18 years of doing this work the same way all the time, to where now she doesn't even have to think about getting the call right. If she has built up those habits, they
Hmm.
are there. They are like air. They are like breathing. You verify the phone number twice. You verify the address twice. Tell me exactly what happened or what's going on. Her interview technique is such that it doesn't matter the type of call she's taking. She's taking the calls the same way. It
Hmm.
could be a shooting, or it could be cat stuck in the tree. It doesn't matter. She does
Yeah.
it the same way every time. Now, does she pivot depending on the nature of call? Of course. But the bullet points are there. The things that must be done are always done. And so if you were to ever say to me, Supervisor Erica, Miss G did this horrible, horrible call, I'm looking for all the reasons why it can't be her, because I can't fathom that. Why? Because her work is bulletproof.
Right. And it leads you to not necessarily discount any complaint against that, but you're
Sure.
like, there has to be there's rather very likely something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, like, when something goes wrong on the floor, I'm like, send me a memo about what happened, because I don't know if you were sitting there and like a raccoon came up and started scratching your face off, and maybe that's why you screwed something up, or like, you're trying to fill up your car with gas and like a snake popped out of the gas tank and like you couldn't get to work on it. Like, there are things
Just
that could happen.
it's
I mean,
stuff happens.
you know, so, like, but by building a consistent reputation and building that skill set to be strong and, supported by, years and years and hundreds of thousands of either 911 calls or police calls that you dispatch on, you strengthen yourself to be the best you can be and help guard against unwarranted accusations of failing at that.
Hmm. And in doing it the same way all the time and building those habits, you ward off or you keep at bay complacency, that silent killer, that thing that creeps up on all of us the longer we do this, because we start slacking off. We're so confident that we think that we're doing it right the whole time, so it's not a conscious effort of doing it. These are the steps every
Hmm.
single time. Before you realize it, you're starting to slack off, and you don't even realize that's what's happening until you look up one day and you've got this massive complaint and it's sustained.
Hmm.
It's legit because you've
Yeah.
you you've allowed yourself to slide off. Now, if you're brand spanking new, you've only just begun your career, weeks, months, or less than 2 or 3 years, will it take absolute work on your part to get to that place? Absolutely, it will. It will be a conscious effort to
Hmm.
be, step by step every single time. And yes, your ears may bleed because you're having to think about it all the time because it's not repetitious yet. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not second nature, but you will get there. But do yourself a favor. Strive to be bulletproof from day one, and you won't have to worry about being bulletproof down the line. You will be bulletproof because you already set it in motion now.
Hmm. Yeah, and if you worry about, well, I want to be liked. I want to do the best I can, but I'd also like to be liked in my job. I'd like you to, think about like a supervisor you've had, or think about just a generic supervisor. Would you rather have a supervisor who is highly swayed by their emotions and is the fluff supervisor, or do you want a supervisor that's more very consistent
Mhm.
um, and less fluff? But you're like, I know that I can go to them if I need something. But not saying that like everybody's one single way. I mean, everybody wears many
Right.
hats, of course,
Of
but just in
course.
general, you're probably going to want to work with people that are consistent, and you'll respect them more and prefer their work product as opposed
Yeah.
to somebody who's more inconsistent. The same way with taking a 911 call or dispatching a 911 call. It's all about keeping a high standard, because when it's all fluff, there's nothing tangible because it's just
Yeah.
ephemeral. You want
Yeah.
you want to you want to have something that you can kind of hold on to, and an iron bar to kind of grip, if you will.
And that is true. I like that you put leadership in there as well, because that is also a skill that has to be learned and exercised. And you want as much in that one. I would say you need more of a balanced approach. You know, consistency is good. There, you'll never hear me say it isn't, but I think you have to have balance in that. And
Hmm.
you should be able to be stern and yeah, sometimes you have to be firm or stern, but you can also be compassionate, and you can also exercise discretion. But there should be balance in everything that you do. And as a leader, you can have consistency and you can have your work be bulletproof by being stable and not crazy, to where your
Because yes,
employees are walking in going, who am I going to get today? The
Dr. Jekyll or Mrs. Hyde.
Or Mrs. Hyde, yeah, or one of the, what is it, Five Faces of Eve, or one of those. I don't know who I'm gonna get
Because
today.
I mean, like, we can all think of like bosses that we've had that are like, they're really like people, oriented people, but they're not really high on the consistency level.
Yeah,
Um,
you
and
can't
I
depend on
know
them
I
to
can.
get things done.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
And
nice
yeah.
and sweet and fun and make you laugh and you can have a great time. They're the party supervisor, but if you had to choose between the party supervisor when you're in a crisis, you're not going for that one. You're going to go to the one that's rock solid, that is consistent, that is anchored, that is,
Hmm.
they'll laugh and joke when the time is appropriate for that, but they will also get work done. And everybody knows there's a difference between the two.
Yeah. And so I think that's why it's important to to strive to be bulletproof, to always hold yourself and the people that work around you, and if you're in leadership, the people that work for you, to a high standard. because
Mhm.
in doing so, you elevate the 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 work that you do, no matter what work it is, whether it's in emergency communications or not. If you're
It's
working
very true.
as a barista at Starbucks,
Yeah.
if are you are you going to make the caramel frappuccino latte pumpkin spice grande mochaino the same
What?
way every time?
Yeah.
I or is it going to be whimsical?
Yeah.
So
The little
you
flourishes of your personality mixed in there because that's going to make it taste better,
yeah,
which is
that's
not at all what the reputation of Starbucks is built on. No matter what location you go to, you're expecting that whatever you order is going to be made the same way, whether you're in Seattle or Denver or Texas, it doesn't matter. And I
mhm,
think that's what we're really trying to get at is you want, if you're at an agency where you're multiple channels like ours, it doesn't matter whether you're starting at Adam and all the way down to Frank and any place in between. The job is the same. Sit down and do it the same way, and you will gather the respect that you're looking for, and you will get the camaraderie and all the things. Because this is all what this conversation was born out of us being surrounded by relatively new dispatchers who are striving more to be liked and have I think, a distorted view of what their job really is. And it is not to be liked; it is to be consistent and
mhm,
steadfast and have your work be trustworthy also
beyond
versus
reproach. Yeah.
yeah, beyond reproach or as much as possible.
A- And consistency is key. And this is our 66th episode of
Is
Lifeline.
it?
So
Wow.
it is. We're happy that you all have been consistently with us. There you go. How's that for a segue?
Yeah.
Um, if you all have any personal stories or, uh, descriptions of things that have kind of been on your mind in terms of being bulletproof, working to a high standard and consistency, we'd love to hear about them. You can always
Yeah.
reach us by emailing us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com or leaving a like and comment down below. From
Yes.
all of us
We may have you
at
on the show.
we may even have you on the show. We'd love to have you on the show. You. I want you. From all of us here at Lifeline 911, I'm Gary,
I'm Erica.
and we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.